I like how I said in 2024 I was going to buy fewer books and then instantly went out and bought more books. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am taking you through the stack of books that came into my possession from January to April in 2024. I've actually not bought a whole lot this time. I think I've only bought about 7 or 8 physical books. I've got one of them fewer here because when my dad was over to visit in March, I gave him a copy of it. But I've still impacted my TBR in some way. The book that is no longer in my possession is Whatever Happened to Birdie by Rachel English. I read this as well in March and I absolutely adored it. It's the story of Stacey, who is 31, 32 at the start of the book, and she is running a podcast where she goes back to look at the careers of super popular people back in the 80s or 90s who have kind of faded away nowadays. She wants to find out what they're doing, where they're living, what they're up to, what their situation is, and she discovers a band called the Diamonds. Birdie Troy, one of the members of this band, disappeared the night that the band had gone on top of the Pops for the first time ever, and they had had an absolutely huge reaction. There was huge success in store for the band, and Birdie disappears after everything has happened. The band then never went on to gain the notoriety that was pretty much lined up for them, and Stacey wants to find out why. On top of this, she also wants to find out what has happened to Birdie Troy and why she has been so hard to find for the last 40 or so years. This book is a really great one to pick up if you really enjoyed stories like Daisy Jones and the Six, because it's got a huge music element to it. So if that was something that you enjoyed, I definitely think you should go and pick up Birdie Troy too. Another book that I bought, even though I don't have it physically, is one that I got on my Kindle, and that is The Winners by Fredrik Backman. I have already read Beartown. It is one of my favorite books of all time. It destroyed me emotionally, completely. And I knew that I wanted to finish out the series. I already had a copy of Us Against Them on my Kindle, so I had to finish out the series. And now that I've got all 3 of them in my possession, I think it might be time to go back onto Beartown and to just be through the entire series. Onto the books that I do physically have with me, and the first one is Emma Disappeared by Andrew Hughes. I believe that this is Andrew's debut novel, and it follows Emma, who is a hugely popular student in UCD in Dublin, one of the country's biggest universities, and one night she doesn't come home from her university lectures. Everyone starts going through CCTV footage to find out where she was last. There's a huge national debate about women's safety, and I start to turn towards Emma's boyfriend Tom, who now cannot be found anywhere. He has completely disappeared off the face of the earth too. However, there is an archivist who is looking into the situation and who is trying to find out what has happened, but a body has been discovered very close to his apartment, and he might be starting to get tangled up in this in a way that he wasn't expecting to. I absolutely love a thriller. I love something that's going to grip me and that's going to take me on a journey that I'm not expecting to. And I am also hugely supportive of Irish authors, and I know that Andrew is an Irish author himself, so I am genuinely so interested to get this one started. Another Irish author that I cannot wait to get started is In Her Place by Adele Coffey. This story is about Anne, who has spent quite a lot of her life as her mother's carer, but now that her mother has passed away, she's starting to feel a little bit empty. Her life is starting to feel a little bit drab. So she goes out for a drink one evening just to spend some time by herself and bumps into a man named Justin. Justin is kind of drowning his sorrows because his wife Deborah is in a coma and she's not looking like she's going to pull through it. Anne and Justin start to get very close to one another and romantic feelings start to come to the fray. But one day, Justin gets the call that he has been waiting for. Deborah is starting to respond to treatment, and it is looking likely that she is going to wake up soon. This is not something that sits well with Anne, who is ready to do anything in her power to keep the man that she has just met in her life. This sounds like it's going to be such a fantastic read, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen at the end of this one because I genuinely do not know how it's going to go. Keeping it going with the Irish authors theme, as soon as this came out, I could not wait to pick it up, and that is My Favourite Mistake by Marion Keyes. Marion writes it, I will read it. This story is about Anna. It is the follow-up to Anybody Out There, which was the 3rd book or the 4th book in the Walsh Sisters series. As we left Anna, she was living in New York and her life had been very much turned upside down by personal tragedy, but life is starting to turn upside down again for her. She's not loving her job at the moment. She's feeling a little bit out of place in New York. So she heads back to Ireland. She heads back to a quieter life. And it turns out that this might not have been the move that it should have been for her. She's not adjusting so well to moving from the bustling big lights to a small, tiny, insular town where everybody knows everything about everyone else. Having done the opposite and moved from such a small town to such a big city, I know that it is such a culture shock and that it's something that you really need to get used to. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to go in reverse here. This is quite a big book. I think it's going to be something around 600 or so pages. And I am so interested to get this read. As I said, anything that Marion writes is instantly gold for me. So I am so excited to see what's going to happen with Anna and the rest of her family after this. The last book by an Irish author that came into my possession over the couple of months past was Spirit Level by Richie Craven. This is Richie's debut novel. It just came out at the end of April and I implore you to go and pick this one up. This is about Danny, who is 24 and he's feeling a little bit directionless in life. His work isn't going very well, his personal life is also not super great, but he and his friend Nudge go out for a drink one evening with their big group of friends when one of their other friends has just come back from, I think it was a year around South America traveling. Nudge and Danny get into the car after having had a couple of drinks together and they end up crashing into the canal in Dublin. Danny survives the accident, but Nudge loses his life. And after this, it transpires that Danny is able to see Nudge and his body and his spirit when Danny is slightly drunk. So he spends most of this novel in a slightly tipsy stage, trying to figure out why he is the only one who can see Nudge and how to get him to the other side if there's a little bit of unfinished business here. I had no idea that the ending of this book was going to go in the direction that it did. I'm really glad that it did. And I genuinely think that more people need to read this book because it is so full of heart and it is so full of humor. And it is also Irish without inherently being so. So it's really accessible for an international audience who might not be very familiar with Irishisms and with the culture that we have here. And I absolutely think everyone needs to go and get a copy of it. Every time that I go to a new place, I like to pick up a new book and I like to pick up a new fridge magnet just to remind myself of the little journey that I went on. So when I was away over a couple of weekends ago, I picked up The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Not only is this going to be a new book for a new place, but it's also going to be a brand new author. I have not read a single book by Elle Kennedy yet. And I'm so excited to see how her books are going to work for me because I know she has got a plethora of them to pick up. I know that this is the first book in the Off-Campus series, but I know that she has also just got The Graham Effect, which came out at the start of 2024. She's got the Summer Bay, Avalon Bay series, and I am so excited to see how this is going to work for me because I really want to see if Elle Kennedy and I are going to get along. I know that this is a hockey romance, and I haven't had a great success with those lately. I didn't enjoy Icebreaker at all. There were a couple of other ice hockey books that I read with my friend Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and we had some mixed reviews about those, but I am hopeful that this one is going to turn the tide a little bit. Finally, the most anticipated book that I wanted to buy up until the end of the first third of 2024 was Funny Story by Emily Henry. You can absolutely bet that as soon as this came into my possession, I was turning the first page. This is about Daphne and Miles, who end up living together after their respective partners, Peter and Petra, have gotten together after having been childhood friends for years. It's about a month away from Daphne and Peter's wedding, but Petra tells Peter that she's always been in love with him and that she really wants to give it a try, and she wants to tell him this now before her chances are gone forever. Peter and Petra end up getting together, whirlwind romance, and Miles and Daphne decide that they are going to convince the others that they are also in a relationship and that things have worked out in their favor too. But does a fake dating romance stay fake dating for very long? I'm about 100 pages into this book. I want to show you the bookmark that I've been using for it. I got it as a Christmas gift from my friend Charr from Thoroughly Enjoyed Books. It says I give cozy vibes, but I'm probably reading smut, and that is true of about 90% of the books that I've read. As I said, I'm about 100 pages into this, and I have a small inkling that this might be Emily Henry's best book yet. I am so excited to go on this journey with Miles and with Daphne, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen to it. That is the small little stack of books that have just gone onto my bookshelves behind me. And as of now, I know that we want to get my TBR to 50 or under. And as of now, we're doing kind of okay because the number is 47. I think if I can keep it around that, I'll be pretty happy. But there's still a couple of months that need to go throughout the year. What is the most recent book that you have just bought and put onto your TBR? If you would love to leave me a comment, but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the shopping bags emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.